What's up, YouTube? Special shout out to the subscribers here on the channel. I really appreciate your support, and welcome back to another weekly video update. This is week 12, and I've been making one of these videos every single week documenting or really just talking through all of the training that I'm doing getting ready for IRONMAN Texas coming up in April. There are just 9 more weeks of training before the race. There are 11 weeks behind us, and I am excited about week 12. This previous week of training was pretty challenging. I had a good combination of some longer efforts like yesterday's ride, 3.5 hours, and also had some runs that were faster than usual. So I had I had 2 runs this last week where I was asked to drop the pace, increase the effort, and it's actually felt pretty good getting out of that easy pace range and running a little bit faster. I trust my coach here, think that it's good for me to get out of that sort of easy pace comfort zone and push my body a little bit further. And so far I've been able to handle the run intervals that I've been asked to do. So excited about that, excited about this coming week of training. Let's dive in and take a look at how last week went day by day real quick here. And we started out on Monday with a swim. Pace change 400s was the workout. That is a 8 by 400 main set where you swim 2 sets of 4, trying to drop the pace between each one. Challenging workout, and I am confident that that workout I gave it my all, and I was able to swim faster on those last 400s. And that swim went really well. I also did a bodyweight strength workout at the house and also had yoga that night, so a pretty full training day on Monday. Moving on to Tuesday, I had a 90-minute aerobic ride to do. Last week I did my easy aerobic rides out on the road, and there's no way around it. Like when I ride my easy rides I go to a park that's nearby and do some circles. They're really, really good for super low intensity, like recovery type efforts. I can't quite work into my zone 2 power when taking loops at that park because it puts me a little bit too fast and it's just a little bit unsafe. So I decided to do my zone 2 like easy rides indoors on the trainer last week. That way I could really make sure I was getting my time in that zone 2 power output, and I'm glad I did that. Those rides were pretty good. Tuesday's ride was pretty even. I think I averaged a little bit over 200 watts for the ride. Yeah, 204 on that, and then just at the top of my zone 1 heart rate for 90 minutes. Off the bike, I had it was a crazy run. I mean, it was just supposed to be a 5-mile easy run off the bike. However, it started just pouring rain and thundering about 20 minutes into the run. It was just like brutal. Shoes were totally soaked. I'm running through puddles. The raindrops were actually hurting because the wind was blowing so hard, and it was like 50 degrees out. So that run was really brutal. I could barely see. It was just a tough one. I was like one of those runs where I got back to the house and I was just like, oh, thank God that's over. So Tuesday's training went well. Wednesday was a little bit of an easier day. The only session that I had was the strength training session that I did with the group over at the gym at Powerhouse. That went well. And then Thursday's was a challenging day. Thursday I had another 90-minute easy ride. That wasn't really the challenging part. Off of that 90-minute ride, I had a brick run where I was asked to descend the pace. It was 5 by 8 minutes, but I did 5 by 1 mile. The first mile at easy pace, second and third at half marathon pace, and then 4th and 5th interval was at my 10K pace. Now, last week I did some speed work where I was running at my 10K pace for about 5 minutes at a time. So Thursday rather, was a little bit more than that. I'm having to run a full mile rather than just 5 minutes. But it went well. I was able to drop right into like low 7, like 7:05 for the half marathon pace intervals. And then I just snuck under 6:30 per mile for interval 4 and 5 and got that run done. And then with only about 30 minutes in between, I quickly changed over from that run and went to meet my personal trainer for a strength session. That was pretty tough. I mean, that was like run, hard ride, strength session right after. I think that moving forward, I'm going to try to maybe push that strength session a little bit later in the day. That way I might have a little bit more time to recover. That was the trainer's suggestion, and I'm happy to take that suggestion. That's why I hired her. So I think that this week I'm going to try to give myself a little bit of break in between my ride and run and then that strength session. Moving on to Friday, I got to swim the double 1,000 swim again. That swim was one that really kicked my butt about 6-8 weeks ago. But this time I was able to actually swim the second 1,000 yards faster than the first one. I think my first one was around 17 minutes 30 seconds, and then the second one was just under 16 minutes and 30 seconds. So I dropped about 1 minute off my 1,000 time. Felt really good about that. I had to cut the warm up and the cool down kind of short. I was pretty crunched for time. The pool closed at noon. I got started at like 11:05, so I didn't quite have time to do the full workout, but I made sure to get the double 1,000 done, and that felt pretty good. Also had a run after the swim on Friday, and it was a really easy pace recovery jog type of run. And I was really feeling the previous day of training on that run, the strength session that I did. But I'm getting used to these strength training sessions. I'm getting used to running the day after. And, ultimately I'm still getting it all done, even though I'm just feeling a little bit more sore. And I think that that's all a good thing for me in the long run. So Friday's training went well. Saturday had another run where I was asked to increase my pace. Very similar to Thursday's run, but this was, instead of mile efforts, it was 3/4 mile efforts. That really helped mentally, just knowing, I just have to run 3/4 of a mile. And I was able to drop the pace pretty much exactly like I did on Thursday. So again, another run, coming from last week where I had one run where I had to pick up the pace. This week I had 2 runs where I had to pick up the pace. So getting a little bit more comfortable running a little bit faster. And again, I think that's a good thing. Even though I'm not focusing on, obviously the goal being IRONMAN Texas, I'm not necessarily trying to run really super fast in that race. It's more about a long, even, steady effort. But I am happy to be doing these harder efforts, once or twice a week here. Moving on to yesterday, had a long bike. It was a 4-hour ride that called for spending time in my lower to mid zone 3. Talked to my coach the day before, and he encouraged me to just spend most of the time in zone 2 and drift up into zone 3 for periods of time. And I think that I had a nice balance. I did about 20 minutes in zone 2, 20 minutes zone 3, then I did about 30 minutes zone 2, then 30 minutes zone 3, and then I did, I kind of did like he said, just kind of floated in and out of zone 3. Ended up with an average power of 222, which is about 7-8 watts higher than last week's ride I did on the road. That was also 3.5 hours. So my heart rate average was much higher because I was inside on the trainer. But that was a really difficult ride, and the last half hour was pretty tough, but I knew that I would be okay. I'm definitely more comfortable with these rides more than 3 hours. And then after that long ride, I had a 45-minute run, and that was actually the best part of the training because my kiddo came with me on that run. He rode his bike along with me, and I love it when he does that. It's just so nice to have somebody out there, and not only just somebody, but also my kiddo, and I feel like I get to spend some time with him, and it's just, I love it when he comes with me on those brick runs. So that was a real treat. Held it together pretty well. It was very, very, very windy on the run yesterday, so my pace was a little bit slower, but my heart rate was also pretty darn low for usual. So got that long training day done. That was a pretty tough week. On to this week coming up. I was really excited when I saw that my swim for this morning was 40-minute easy swim with a suggested, maybe swim for 40 minutes with this pattern. I just really enjoyed taking it very easy. Did some backstroke, some breaststroke, a couple freestyle. I did like a 500, a 400, a 300, and a 200. Really, really needed that. It was really nice to go and not have to push, or try to swim descending set, or what I'm usually doing in the pool is a lot more challenging. So this was a nice break today. And then also I don't believe I'll be doing any more training today. Just an easy swim, letting my body recover from this weekend's training. And I'm going to need it because looking at this week's training, it might not look too bad at first glance. However, tomorrow's workout right off the bat is going to be a little bit tough. This ride, 1 hour, no big deal, just an hour ride, but it is 2 by 20 minutes low zone 4, which is going to be a bit of a challenge. That's kind of like doing 2 mini FTP tests, although it's low zone 4, it's still threshold effort. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I might be able to pull both of these off at close to 300 watts average. I will try. Let's see. I'll try to get through the first one around 300 and then hang on for the second one. I think I need to get about 290 for it to count as lower zone 4. So that will be a tough ride. And then right off of that ride, this run looks pretty spicy too. I just mentioned I'm doing, last week I'm running a little bit faster, have some intervals. This brick run off that ride is set at 4 by 1 mile at half marathon pace with a quarter mile easy pace in between. So that is going to be tough. That's 4 miles at about 7 minutes or 6:55 to 7 minutes, shooting for around there. I am here for it. I am going to do my best, and we'll see how that goes. So that's going to be 2 hours of training tomorrow. That's really going to be tough. That's a hard ride and a hard run back to back. So we'll see how that goes. Wednesday, I've got pace change 125s in the pool, and then I'll go to strength class after that. Thursday, I have 1 hour, 15 minute zone 2 easy ride. I will probably go do that on the road if it's not too cold. Probably take that ride as easy as possible, considering the higher intensity that I'm doing earlier in the week. And then I have another run on Thursday that's calling for more half marathon pace here. So really just doing a lot of this running fast. So fast for me anyway. And then I got another run on Friday for an hour at easy pace. And then another run on Saturday, 45 minutes, a very easy pace. So that's more of a recovery run. Very interesting. This week is unfolding a little bit different than most of them. And then on Sunday, I would say this is another key training session this week. Like tomorrow's workout's pretty key, and then Sunday is going to be pretty key as well. 3 hour Ironman tempo ride. So I'm going to try to ride at my Ironman pace. And then a 10K transition run off the bike. So that'll be the longest transition run that I've done since I raced a half Ironman back in November. So that'll be my longest run off the bike since I last raced in November. But I think I'll be ready for it. A lot of running. I like this. So I think that, honestly, for me, I think that, I don't know if I want to call it my weakness, but I think the part where I'm going to really need the most sort of help mentally, physically, preparation-wise for Ironman Texas is going to be on the run. I'm very confident that I can get the swim done in a reasonable amount of time. I am more and more confident each week that I will be able to mentally just power through for 5+ hours on the bike, 112 miles. I would love to be done with that bike ride in about 5 hours and 30 minutes, and I think that that's within my reach. However, when it comes to the run, my previous Ironman that I did in Florida, I walked probably 40 to 50% of the run. No big deal. A lot of athletes do that, and if I need to take some time to walk in Ironman Texas, I will accept that. However, I am really hoping to be able to run close to a 4-hour marathon. The only way that's going to happen, though, the only way that'll happen is if I can really get comfortable running about 8.5 minutes per mile, a little bit faster, and I am confident that I will be ready to give that a shot. And I'm glad that I'm doing more running. I'm glad that I'm doing some faster paced running. If you add it up, I have 5 runs this week, and I think that that's a good place for me. So that's all for this week. I am thrilled to be this far into the training and feeling good. Strength training is going well. Again, I'm a lot more sore these days, but I do think it's all for the best. I'm starting to feel a little bit stronger in my rides and my runs, and that is a very, very good feeling to have. So, as usual, if you have anything to say about my training, I'd love to hear about it. I'd love to answer any questions you might have, or anything you might want to put in the comments. I will absolutely check it out and reply. And until next week, I hope you have a good one. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.